were passed from 1791 to 1993. An amendment is a change to the Constitution. An amendment is a change to the Constitution. So the Founding Fathers knew that the Constitution would need to be changed over time. It's a change. Remember, you need 2/3 of states, and then you need 3/4. You need 2/3 of Congress and 3/4 of the states to create an amendment or pass an amendment. Very hard. All right. So the 12th Amendment. Holy God, this is long. The electors. President and Vice President. Okay, the 12th Amendment creates the modern electoral college. How we vote for the president. So remember, each state has electors, right? Just to give you an example. So we know that this is the case, right? California has the most with 54. We have Wyoming has 3, right? If you add them up, you need 270 to win the presidency because that's one more than 269, which would be a tie. And then there are 538 votes in the Electoral College total. Remember, it's the number of House of Reps people plus the number of senators, which means there's 2 for each state, plus Washington, D.C. gets 3 electors. Therefore, there are 538 votes. Just to give you that. If you want, you can watch this little video. Remember, it takes you right here.
Vice President of the United States.
If you haven't watched this video,
to understand how
I would watch it. Especially because it talks about
Wyoming, Vermont,
all of the
New
states,
Hampshire, Connecticut, and West Virginia.
All those states.
They would only gain 31 electoral votes total from those 8 states.
So,
here's where it can get a little tricky.
Yeah.
On a rare occasion, like in the year 2000, someone can win the popular vote but fail to gain 270 electoral votes. This means that the winner may have won and collected their electoral votes by small margins,
right?
Winning just
so
enough
you
states
can win
with just
the presidency
enough electoral votes, but the losing candidate may
without
have captured large voter margins in the remaining states.
The popular
if
vote.
this is the case, the very large margins secured by the losing candidate in the other states would add up to over 50% of the ballots cast nationally. Therefore, the losing candidate may have gained more than 50% of the ballots cast by voters, but failed to gain 270 of the electoral votes.
Kind of a bummer.
Some critics of the Electoral College.
All right, whoa. You guys need to kind of calm down a little bit. So let's get back out of this thing right here. All right. So the 12th Amendment, I would watch this, by the way. The 12th Amendment creates the modern Electoral College. That is what that does. Let's keep going on. Amendments 11 through 27 were passed between 1791 and 1993 and came about as the nation needed to change the Constitution. Events such as the Civil War and the Progressive Era, the Vietnam War, these events influenced the national government and changed amendments. So these were amendments that changed things. Now, Amendments 13, 14, and 15, we call them the Civil War Amendments. So Amendments 13, 14, and 15, these are the Civil War Amendments because they were passed just after the Civil War. These were amendments that were directly impacted by the United States after the Civil War. So just to give here, all right? In 1865, after the Civil War ended, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for the crime whereof the party have it shall, whatever. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. So the 13th Amendment officially, for the first time, involuntary servitude. So right now, the 13th Amendment says no more slavery. This is the first time slavery is mentioned in the Constitution, by the way. Remember, it always talks about, like, no persons held in labor or no persons migrated. Blah. This is the first time it says slavery. Now, it says slavery and voluntary servitude. If you go to prison and they ask you to pick up trash along the highway, that's not involuntary servitude. They actually ask those people if they want to do it. And at the same time, you're in prison. You have rights. So enjoy it. So now, no more slavery. Now, here's the big problem. Here was the big issue. Now, you have 4 million slaves who are now free. So what to do with them? Do they get rights? Do they get to vote? What do these 4 million newly freed slaves get? That's where the 14th and 15th Amendments come in. The 14th Amendment, probably one of the most controversial amendments we have. All right? See, there's a big asterisk right there. Here we go. In 1868, the government said all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction, basically where they live, thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. No state shall make a law which abridges or prevents their privileges or immunities of the citizens. These people cannot be denied the right to life, liberty, or property. Huge asterisk. Okay? The 14th Amendment means rights to freed blacks after the Civil War. But it's also called rights guaranteed to all citizens. Now, the reason why I put that in a triple asterisk is as follows, okay? So, this says all persons born or naturalized in the United States. Were all slaves in 1865 to that point born in the United States? Yes. It was basically saying all former slaves are now citizens because they were born in America. And now they are free. So it does not matter what their condition of servitude is. They are now citizens of the United States. Well, this is where the issue lies. So wait, all persons born? Well, technically it says all persons born. So if you are an illegal immigrant and you have a child, that child is a citizen, which is controversial. We probably don't think that the people in 1868 wrote this amendment thinking about future illegal immigrants. That probably wasn't even a thought. I mean, really, that wasn't even a concept. So the idea that makes this controversial is to do with illegal immigration. People who come over here, whether they are pregnant and they have a child, that child is now a citizen, even though the parents aren't. The kid can stay, but the parents have to be deported. Or if you come over here and you are born in the United States, let's say you're illegally brought from Puerto Rico and you arrive in the United States, all right, and you are born in the United States and you live 50 years here in the United States, since you were born here, you're a citizen. You cannot be deported. But if you move here, your parents are pregnant, your parent gives birth to you, you live here 50 years, your parent lives here 50 years, your parent can still be deported because they are not a legal citizen of the United States. So this is what makes it a hefty issue, is should everyone be born in America be citizens? So should it really be all persons born? That's what people want to know. There are a lot of people that want to change that because the way it was written is not the way it was intended. The last of the Civil War amendments is the 15th Amendment, passed in 1870. The right of citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by the account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Race, obviously meaning blacks. Color, or if you were born to a black mother and a white father, or a white father and a black mother. Or previous condition of servitude, so slavery. So these is right to vote regardless of race or ethnicity. Now notice it does not say anything about sex, gender. So African Americans who were enslaved got the right to vote before free white women, which was a big deal socially at the time. So the right to vote regardless of ethnicity is guaranteed. And that was a big deal. Now, that doesn't mean that states didn't try to make laws that prevented blacks from voting, like poll taxes, where you tax someone for voting, or also if you have literacy tests, or if you have to have voter identification. These are all ways to prevent people from voting, especially at the time. Ugh, sorry I'm yawning in your video, but at least I know that I'm staying awake, and you should be too. So these are our civil rights amendments. All three of these will be on the test, by the way. Amendments 16, 17, 18, and 19. These amendments are called the Progressive Era Amendments. These amendments were passed during a time where there was little economic or political government control over the citizens, and the people needed reform. Now, when I say little economic reform or little government control, after the Civil War, the people basically just did whatever they wanted. Millionaires could make millions and millions and millions of dollars and pay their workers $1.20 a day. They could have their employees work 7 days a week. There were no laws that went against this. There were no laws that taxed people on income. There were no laws about really anything in terms of economics. So some of these laws were introduced to change political corruption, to change the way America looked socially, to make America a socially better nation. So here we go. Amendments 16, 17, 18, and 19. These amendments were passed during a time where there was little economic or political control over the citizens. These amendments introduced the Internal Revenue Service, taxes, gave people the ability to elect their own senators, prohibited alcohol, which was god-awful, granted women the right to vote, woo! And then brought back the sale of alcohol again. So let's take a look at some of these amendments. And again, I hope you're getting all these things in your notes. That'd be really important. So we're going to look at the Progressive Era Amendments, which is the time from 1900 to 1920-ish. So here we go. The Progressive Amendments. The 16th Amendment. If there is one amendment Mr. Berry hates more than any other amendment, it is this one, and it will be on the test. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without apportionment among the several states and without regard to the say of census. This creates the federal income tax. Creates the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Which means now I have to pay taxes on how much money I make. I hate it. In 1913, there were billionaires who didn't pay a cent of taxes, and the government didn't have any money. So the government said we need to be able to tax the citizens so we can make money as a government. So people like J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, oh wait, these names all sound familiar. They were making billions of dollars, and the government never got a cent. So finally in 1913, the government said, we'll have them pay taxes. And today, we have taxes based off of your income. So we've got these things called tax brackets. So let's say Mr. Berry is single, and he makes $61,000 a year. 22% of Mr. Berry's income goes to the government. Let's do some math. I hate doing this, but let's just do it. So let's say Mr. Berry makes $60,000 a year. He has to pay 22% of it to the government. They get $13,000? Savages. So, wait a minute. So $61,000, that's $1 million. That'd be awesome. $61,000 minus $13,500. So that means I only make $47,000 a year. What do they do that? Welcome to the federal income tax. If you win the lottery and you win $1 million, is that correct? That's correct. 1, 2, 3, whatever. If you win $1 million, the government will take 37% of that. So you are a 630,000 heir because they took 37% of it. So you don't even make a full million. And if you're married, same thing. If you're married and your husband and your wife, or your husband and your husband, or your wife and your wife make $82,000 a year, $82,000 a year times 12, whoa, $82,000 a year times 0.12. That means you and your whatever, you have to give up money. It's not good. I don't like it. So these are the tax brackets. 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, 37%. These were tax cuts, though. President Trump, he passed these tax cuts, which actually were lower than what they were during Obama's presidency. What technically happens is taxes are generally lower during Republican presidencies and higher during Democratic presidencies, because Democrats generally want to raise taxes so the government has more money. Republicans want to lower taxes. That way the people have more money so we don't have to pay more in taxes, so we don't have to spend any money. It's pretty interesting when you think about it like that. I'll leave that. Now, we'll take a look at how the rich avoid paying taxes. This is a great video. I actually really suggest you watch this video.
This is Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world.
Oh, and he's eating a
thanks to the company he runs, Berkshire Hathaway. Basically, it's a holding company that just owns a bunch of other companies.
Wow.
Geico, Dairy Queen, a
He
huge
owns all
railroad,
that.
as well as a lot of stock in other companies like
Whoa.
Apple and Coca-Cola. So when those companies do well and their stock goes up, Berkshire Hathaway stock goes up. When Buffett took over the company in 1965.
All right, you watch this video. It's really good. It shows you kind of how the rich don't pay as much in taxes as the poor, with an asterisk, because like they keep all their money in stocks. Elon Musk is worth like $200 billion. It's not Elon Musk, it's his companies. And he spends the company credit card. He doesn't spend his own credit card. And I'm going to go over all this in class, and you're going to hate every second of it. Yeah, so this is where our taxes go to, by the way. So if our taxes were a dollar bill, 21%, I mean, like, this is ridiculous. Our state taxes. I mean, really. This is like, what? That gives you an idea. And then we've got state income taxes. Georgia has a state income tax of 5%. So if I make $100, the state of Georgia takes $5.75 of that. Texas doesn't have any of that. Nevada, Wyoming. These states don't have any state income taxes, which is amazing. But taxes on other goods are really, really high, just FYI. California, 14%. Oh, my God. We go to the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment says, oh, that's funny. You want my money? You can't have it. The Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, elected by the people. Now, back in the day, before this amendment, the state governments voted for the senators. So if I was the governor and I wanted 2 of my friends to be senators, well, I would appoint them as senators. So then the government was really corrupt. So I could appoint friends who didn't know anything about the government, and then they could be senators, which is like not okay. So this amendment changed it. This said, we call this people directly elect their senators, meaning people vote for their senators, not appointed by the government, which is good, which means we have the choice. We choose our senators. So right now, we as the people are determining between Senator Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Technically, if it was back in the day, Brian Kemp, who's Republican, would probably tell Herschel Walker, hey, I'm going to appoint you as a senator. And we, the people, might have voted against him. Who knows? It's interesting. So that's what we got for the 17th Amendment. The 18th Amendment is one of the most heartbreaking amendments in American history. I am shedding a tear. After 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors with the importation thereof, is hereby prohibited. Prohibition. Prohibition of alcohol. I'm sorry that I'm so down on this. Prohibition of alcohol. No more buying or importing alcohol. Prohibition was a 13-year experiment where people morally had a conscience. They thought, we need to ban the sale and manufacturing of alcohol. Now, what's interesting is it didn't say that you couldn't. It didn't say you couldn't not drink it, but if you drank it, you had to buy it or sell it or whatever. So it basically said, all right, starting January 1st on 1920, no more alcohol can be bought or sold or made in the United States. And a lot of companies went bankrupt. It was pretty ridiculous. Actually, it's kind of cool. Let's see. Prohibition. PBS. There's a video. This is actually pretty good. Prohibition in the United States. It's made by Ken Bergs and PBS. So you can look, the roots of prohibition. This little video will tell you why prohibition happened. And it's pretty horrible. A nation of drunkards. So PBS came up with a video, 3-part series called Prohibition. It's really good. So America was voted dry. That is such a waste of alcohol. Those rats must have been super drunk. Super drunk. Anyways, prohibition of alcohol. I hate it. The 19th Amendment. The rights of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex. Women, right to vote. It grants women suffrage. Suffrage means the right to vote. I love it. So now in 1920, women have the right to vote.
Hi, my name is Matthew Pinsker. I'm a historian, and here's some things you need to know to sound smart about the 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the one that guaranteed women the right to vote, was ratified in 1920. But the truth is, women had been voting in American elections for long before that.
Just not nationally.
Republic, for example, there were some places where women voted, in the state of New Jersey until 1807. But in most cases, women were denied the right to vote in the 19th century. They started agitating for the right to vote openly and in public in the late 1840s and early 1850s after meetings in places like Seneca Falls in New York. During the Civil War period, women were involved in the fight against slavery and the fight to save the Union. After the Civil War, leaders like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony thought that their fight to end slavery would get them included in the amendments like the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment that guaranteed the rights to former slaves.
But
and they lost.
Yep.
It was a devastating blow to their cause. And so they reorganized themselves in a long campaign for suffrage. Sometimes they did this on a state-by-state or territory-by-territory basis, especially effective out west. Then there were women led by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton who organized the National Women's Suffrage Association.
The first state/territory to grant women the right to vote was Wyoming. Wyoming in 1869 allowed women the right to vote so they could get women to move out to Wyoming. That's why the state motto is equal rights.
They were fighting to change the Constitution. Sometimes they fought in the courts. They actually tried to vote. Susan B. Anthony got herself arrested at one point doing that. Ultimately, these fights converged at the beginning of the 20th century and during the era of World War I. There was a serious campaign to try to change the Constitution. They had what they called silent sentinels posted outside the White House with protest signs. Those silent sentinels were arrested by municipal authorities and imprisoned. It was a stark moment in the history of women's rights, women being imprisoned and in some cases force-fed. Eventually, women gained the right to vote in states like New York. They convinced Woodrow Wilson to support women's suffrage. And finally, by 1919, the Congress had endorsed, after much struggle, this proposed amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And women began voting wholesale across the country in the presidential election of 1920.
So there you go. Women get the right to vote in 1920. The national right to vote. So I'm going to stop this here for video number 1 for you. You make sure you have all this stuff in your notes. It's kind of a big deal. All right? Enjoy.